Hey, everyone, and welcome to Building with Vitality, the podcast that's all about helping you live your best life.
And we're your hosts, Nikki and Paige. We're going to give you all the tools to help build a life that's full of vitality. Let's dive in. Welcome back to Building with Vitality. I know I have sunglasses on if you are watching on YouTube, so I just wanted to say I have some weird eye problems going on, but it's not stopping us from the podcast. And actually, it's a really fitting episode today because we are here with Adam Heaps. He is all about helping raise your own frequency and others around you, connecting deeper with yourselves, deeper with others through breathwork practices, cold plunging. Gosh, what am I missing, Adam?
Sunglass wearing, I think. And I don't have mine. I'm bummed. I dropped them in the lake. Otherwise, I'd be right with you.
It is actually really nice to wear sunglasses
It
inside.
is. It feels good.
No one knows what I'm really thinking.
Sure.
It's true.
So we are really excited to dive in because Adam is a wealth of knowledge. And so just first and foremost, Adam, tell us how you got into this entire space because there's a lot that goes into it. So walk us through from the beginning.
The beginning is so long ago. I think, this is one of those things that's like lifelong. Probably starts before that even. And for me, it's been one of those journeys that's progressed little piece by piece over time. There are pivotal moments along the way that I think, point back to where I saw things shift more quickly than others. Mm-hmm. And I think those are what you're talking about.
Yes.
So that's what I will explain. I think I grew up in Salt Lake City.
Yeah.
And which is like predominantly LDS culture, which it was like a good spiritual, fertile learning ground for somebody like me. But I was always sort of like wondering why, and I guess I kind of was always a little different. At least I felt that way. I don't know if that's how others saw it, but I felt that way. And I think that helped me sort of step into this world because I kind of had my toes in like something that might exist beyond just the 3D, like where we came from and where we're going. Mm-hmm. I was exposed to those ideas at a young age and like encouraged to tap into those things. But I found my own way through. And, it's like for me, there's this, I think for all of us, there's this connection of mind, body, spirit. Mm-hmm. And it's like I had mental health issues that I knew I needed to work on. I loved doing things that were physical and being in my body. That always brought me joy and helped me find peace. And then, there's like this spiritual component to the whole thing that's kind of like tying everything together. And when the mental and the physical are operating at a high level, the spiritual can like really evolve. Mm-hmm. And so that's kind of where it starts, is like being broken down in some of those places and like really searching for answers. And when I say broken down, like not knowing why it was hard, but just having a hard time.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I was always into like meditation, things like that. I always loved music. I had a very strong relationship with music. I had physical ailments in my body when I was growing up, in my guts and other things that were like, we did tests and we looked into why. And it was like, it was coming from my mind.
The power of the subconscious mind.
Yeah. I was beating myself up. So as I discovered, and I was taking medication to fix things in my body that I had the power to change on my own, but I didn't know, and I don't think my parents knew. It was like the culture wasn't ready for that yet.
Right. Mm-hmm. And when with these ailments, so your mind, but then if you could just explain to the audience too, from your understanding, the connection between your mind and your emotions and your body, like where do emotions play into that within like your nervous system regulation? Yeah, sure.
I think for me, what I realized in those moments was that as I like became aware of my own self, I could see the unconscious actions happening. Mm-hmm. And I couldn't see them in the moment, but I could start to see like the gap between why do I feel so bad, and what's happening in my life was closing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think for a long time, and I think many of us get caught in not seeing how our actions are fleshing out in our emotions.
Mm-hmm.
And so where I'm spending time in my thoughts, who I'm spending time around, what I'm consuming physically, energetically, media, plays out in my emotions. How I feel is a direct result of what I just did or what I've been doing.
Mm-hmm.
And becoming aware of that like really helped me to see that. And I spent a lot of time in the shit, like, oh, what happened? And watching it from there.
Like those ruminating thoughts.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it was like I just had to keep getting to the root of what was going on. And as I did that, I found that it was me.
You were the common denominator in your life. Whoa.
Ta-da! The good things,
Mic
the
drop.
bad things, all of it,
Yeah.
right? And we all have circumstances that we cannot control. But we can control what we do with the circumstances. We can control how we feel. We can control what we allow to affect us. I can. And that's what I learned in that practice. So I'm saying it now like I've had it all figured out for a really long time. It's like it was not long ago that I've been like piecing these things together, and I still think there's a long way to go.
Totally. It's a journey. It's a life journey.
But I think one of the big steps along the way for me was about 6 years ago, my daughter, we were out like going out to a barbecue, and she was napping in the car. My youngest, she was 1.5 years at the time. So we had her and then our 4-year-old and 8-year-old River. And we went to the barbecue at the friend's house and we were hanging out, and the kids all went and woke up Harlow, our youngest, in the car. And we were like, don't let her nap. Yeah. And she came in and she was like all lethargic. She was very lethargic. And we thought she was just kind of like waking up. It was hot, but she was like rolling back, eyes back in her head, like limp. And I did the limp for everyone who's watching. Limp. And we rushed her to the hospital, and she had found some eye drops and was like chewing on the bottle and had swallowed some. So eye drops work by constricting the blood vessel in your eye. And so it was happening inside of her body.
Whoa.
Yeah, right? So I'm in panic. We rush to the hospital. They can't help us. We got to go to primary children's. We do the life flight. We spend the night there. They're giving her chemicals to like speed the things and open the vascular system back up. And ultimately, the next day, the eye drop chemicals that last for 8 or 10 hours or whatever fade away, and she's back to normal, and they do a bunch of tests, and we monitor, and she's completely fine. Which was like the biggest trip ever, because I held her while she was dying. I rushed 130 miles an hour to the hospital in the car. And she was fine. And we like went to a barbecue the next day at my dad's house and was like on our way.
It was normal.
And that broke me hard because I didn't process death, but I watched it happen. And so, and thank God she's here. Like I'm not saying I wanted to finish that loop, but there was something inside of me that had like wasn't acknowledged. That died in that moment with her as her parent, and watching her flatline and like the trauma of that. And it took me and Caitlin a couple of weeks, we were like driving down the road in the car, and we looked at each other and we were like, I'm not okay. Are you okay? And she's like, no, I'm not okay. And we just both like broke down.
And so I'm curious. I mean, I've gone down the rabbit holes of understanding like your body going into fight or flight survival mode. And so it sounds like in that moment when that traumatic experience happened and you could see your little daughter, just like her life flashing before your eyes, your body went into fight or flight mode. And then it was almost like you kind of like froze in that mode. And then it kind of all hit a few weeks later in the car with your wife. And you're like, oh my gosh, we haven't processed this. And from my experience too, a lot of people get stuck in that. When you're in a constant state of stress, fight or flight mode, And I know I found myself in that where I was just running on adrenaline basically for years and years and years. And then you realize how much you disassociate because our bodies are our bodies and our minds are built for survival. And so that's the amazing thing is everything that you did in that situation, it was the best that you knew how to do in that circumstance, right? Like your body and your mind were like, I need to survive this situation. I need to get through it. And so we do all these like crazy things. But then when your body feels safe again, then it's like, you're like, well, wait a second. Now I feel safe. And it's like the floodgates open and all of a sudden you're left with these emotions, these thoughts, like everything, and it's overwhelming. And so I'm curious, what did you guys do in the car when you're sitting there like, oh my gosh, we like are trying to process this?
I cried.
Yeah. You released it.
Yeah. It was like no other way at that point. And what was happening in my life was I was at a job where I had been for 7 years, where I had climbed this ladder and was like very invested in it. And a lot of things were changing there, and this happened. And I remember going back to work and like watching people having conversations about who sent the email at what time.
It was like you're watching a game. You're like,
yeah, I like couldn't relate anymore.
Yeah.
And it was funny because I don't need to go into that story, but like new bosses and new transition and new team. And I ended up under somebody who didn't like me. And I almost got fired, and I had been there for a long time. So I was very invested and I was well liked across the organization. So I found a different role. But what happened is like, I died twice. Like the parent part of me died, the work part of me died, and I didn't know what to do.
Yeah. You were stuck.
Yeah. And, I luckily found this other role that was like quieter and somewhere else. And I just started like searching and practicing. And I started listening to lots of different podcasts and reading different self-help things. And we've talked a lot about The Secret, and like that was out there. I didn't fully understand quite yet.
Yeah.
What got me through was I found Ram Dass, who I don't know if you guys you've heard of Ram Dass. Ram Dass like brought me back into spirituality and showed me some things that I maybe had like ditched from leaving or not being a part of what I didn't resonate to when I was young, and connected me back into my heart and spirituality. And I think at the same time I found Wim Hof, who has the breathing and the cold plunge, and I just started trying those things because, like I was saying earlier, being in my body is where I found like peace.
Yeah. And you were craving that feeling again.
Yeah, and I was okay at meditation, and I understood the point, but like I'm ADD.
Yeah.
I whatever that label means. Like I just have a lot of energy. So trying to sit still, like be like this for 20 minutes was like I felt like somebody lit me on fire. Like I couldn't sit still. So to breathe or to get in cold water and like fight that for a moment, even though now I do it differently, it was good because it shoved me into my body, and that's where I was able to get out of my mind.
Right. Yeah.
So where are you at, right? Like you were able to go through this journey of healing and figuring out how to actually meditate properly, cold plunge, like regulate your nervous system. What do you do with that information you have now? Like how often do you practice? How often would you say other people should practice to get to the state that you're at?
Everybody should try to get to the state that is good for them.
I love that.
I would say that for me, what happened is I dabbled in these things, and I wasn't very intentional. I was like trying to survive, and I did. And when 2020 came around and we all had to go home and it was COVID happened, a lot of illumination happened for a lot of people. We saw life differently. And I went to this spot really quick where I was like, oh, I know what to do. If this is inside of our lungs, I'm just going to double down on my breath work practice. And so I really like went like full on every single day. Every morning I'd get up and go on the patio, whether it was hot or cold, or it was like March when it started. So it was cold at the time. And I started my day with 20 or 30 minutes of just like deep, full, engaged Wim Hof breathing. And I did that for like 3 or 4 months straight, every single day. And although I learned a lot during that year and there was still a lot of survival, I found some thriving. Like I succeeded. I got promoted at work when people were getting laid off. And I started to see this like correlation of, oh, I'm feeling better, so I'm handling life better. So I don't have to worry so much about like trying to be better at the project. I just get calm here, and then the project itself like becomes easier.
That's so powerful.
Mm-hmm.
But it was sort of by accident, by like COVID making me think like, well, I'll just make my lungs strong as anything else in my body.
Yeah.
And I like accidentally fell into that whole spiritual like mental health side of it when I was starting it for physical strength.
Right.
Breathwork has been a way for me to engage with myself on a deeper level, to be able to tap into my body's intelligence, to the subconscious mind a little bit more, and allow myself to be more intuitive and in the flow of things rather than like in my mind trying to control everything. Because if you think about it, anybody who wants to try breathwork, usually what happens after you start taking a few breaths, your mind starts going like, what the hell am I doing right now?
Yeah.
This is weird.
It is.
So getting through that part is like a whole wormhole podcast we could go down all by itself. Breathwork is an ancient technology that's existed since humans, and we've used it to engage our bodies and our mind. It kicks up naturally when the part of our brain feels unsafe, the fight or flight. We breathe. We store trauma in our breath. You know what happens when something bad happens? Like that gets stored in your cardiovascular system and then passed down, right? So it's like there's so much power in our breathing, in how we breathe. There's cultures that only breathe through their nose and do not breathe through their mouth. That your face can change shapes based on what you breathe out of. Like there's so much to it. Breath work, the most advanced breath work is just to be able to sit in silence and watch your breath in its natural rhythm, focused, and just be there. It really is that simple.
Yeah, like just starting with focusing on your breath.
Just being aware of it.
Be present.
It's one of those things in life that happens whether we are thinking about it or not. It's breathing right now while we're talking and listening, and then if I pause, I can control it. And it's sort of this interesting tool that way where we get to like flirt on the edge of co-creation. It's happening and I'm doing it. So there's lots of different kinds of breath work. There are breath work for activation and cleansing, and kind of Wim Hof is that way, right? It's big, deep breaths, and you're activating your cardiovascular system.
And that, scientifically speaking, that shoots up your dopamine, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's almost like doing like a bungee jump or something for your body. It's like gives
that.
you a boost, and then you're safe and we're all good. Holotropic. Those are used to activate the nervous system in a safe environment so that I can reprogram myself to the stress. Because usually what we do is spend time unaware of how we're responding in the stressful moments. It freaks us out.
Right.
Whereas if I can spend time in what might feel like that to my body, but I'm in a safe place, then I can reprogram the response so that I can come from a place of creation rather than reaction to everything.
Yeah, I love that. It's a really powerful modality to use for trauma as well as like PTSD. Like I've heard of a lot of people using that for PTSD healing because it's like their bodies can't handle the stress. And so again, you put your body in the stress mode and then it helps you be able to handle that and then gives you confidence in just all of the stressors of life. Yeah. So when you do the Wim Hof or when you do cold plunge, do you do the Wim Hof before and then you do the cold plunge? Because then can you kind of explain that a little bit?
Yeah, sure. There are times when I do the breath work alone by itself. There are times when I do the cold plunge and I just kind of like take a few breaths to get ready and get in. And there's other times where I'm like, okay, I'm going to sit here with this for 10 minutes and like really get myself ready and then get in. And it always helps to be engaged with your breath in and after and warming up. So I would say whatever feels good is the right answer.
If someone doesn't have access to a cold plunge, I've heard so many people doing the 3-minute cold shower. Have you heard of that?
Yeah.
So do you recommend that?
Yeah, I will say...
I need to start doing that.
I will say I feel as though cold shower is very effective. It's a really good place to start, right? If you've not done anything before, absolutely do the cold shower. You'll get the benefits. Your body will respond to it. It will help your cardiovascular system. Your skin will feel nicer. Like lots of things will happen. You'll get the dopamine rush. It's way harder to do. It's like not as cold and it's not all over you. So there's like this constant uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Plus, again, with the programming, like many of us have spent 30, 40, 50 years taking warm showers and being like, ew, that's cold. Am I going to get in?
Oh, totally.
And so to even make it cold is like a mental barrier anyways.
Yeah.
And then knowing I'm going to go sit in a bucket of ice, it's like I'm entering into a different arena that way.
Right.
Plus, it submerges you, so it's almost like you get through it all faster or something. I don't know.
Do you
it's
have
harder
one at your
the better.
house? A cold plunge?
I do. And for the longest time, I would do it in my bathtub. I would, whatever, fill it up halfway, put ice in it, sit in it. I bought a trough from Home Depot, Lowe's, Tractor Supply, wherever. Go get a thing.
Okay.
They're $100,
Okay.
and you can put hose water in it and put ice in it. And in the winter, that's the best because it's just Mother Nature's hooking you up every night, and then you wake up and you bust it open and you sit inside. And now I have a freezer. I've evolved over time.
Oh, that's amazing. It's fun to hear how you've evolved.
Yeah.
Do your kids do it too? Like, do your
Absolutely.
kids see you do this? Like, how has that impacted them? Because they're 14, remind me.
13, 10, and 8.
10 and 8.
Yeah, and they're incredible, and they inspire me. And in fact, we over the last couple of years have built like a cold plunge community, and we have been plunging in American Fork River since the beginning of 22. And we've been doing it every week.
And your kids go too.
And it was inspired by my son wanting to get in the water through a lot of this conversation. And I was like, bro, it's so cold. We need to go home and get a towel and like a change of clothes. And so we did. And we invited our friends and we went. And it was incredible. And we were all like, yeah, we need to do that again. And we just kept going back. And it's invite your friends. And now all of a sudden it's like, these are my people.
So you do this every Saturday?
Every Sunday morning.
Every
we
Sunday
do it.
That is so
Yeah.
cool. And I'm just thinking of, there was a trend on social media that I saw the other day that was like, and I wanted to jump on the bandwagon because I agree with it, of, hey, instead of going out for drinks with your friends, go do a hike or go do breathwork or go do a cold plunge. Like, I absolutely love that you guys are getting a community together to do that. That's awesome.
How many people show up on Sundays?
So, when we were like at our peak last year, we had like 70 people sometimes.
Wow.
Okay, well,
it was
for
fun.
local listeners,
it was
what
a
time?
fun explosion. Now, and there was a time where I was like posting and we were gathering people. I kind of stopped because it's like it got big and we were constantly filling the parking lot. There was a car accident. Like it was like it got that big, And now it's self-sufficient. Like the community exists and we all love it, and those who go take care of it. We participate, we share, we bring wood, and there's a couple of people. I'm gonna give a shout out to my homie Dan because he's always doing a lot of the work. Dan McFarland, you are my homie, my brother. He keeps the cold plunge going right now. Him and Allie, his wife, and but everybody that goes, right? It's a community thing. It's like we own it. It's not anybody's. It's just that's the group. That's what we do. 9:30 on Sunday mornings in American Fork Canyon. You can message me if you want information because I don't really post it anymore. Yeah, but I would love to do like a huge one again one day,
Well, let's plan a Building with Vitality.
Yeah, I would love that.
Sure.
So I know that a lot of people, have heard of breathwork, or now we've educated them a little bit about what it is. So who would you say would benefit from breathwork for our listeners who might be interested or are like, hey, I kind of want this healing journey, or I'm really stressed? Like, what does that look like as to if you're like, yeah, it would be beneficial for this person?
I feel like you're going to say everyone.
I already know the answer to that, but I just wanted to hear him say it.
I think everyone.
Yeah.
I think.
Did you hear that, everyone?
Everybody, every single person. I mean,
it was a trick question.
It was.
We need everyone doing breath work. It would be a more peaceful place, truly.
Yeah. I mean, why? honestly, I don't care how you do it. If you like to wake up in the morning and go play pickleball and that's how you engage inside of your body and are active and breathe, like, cool. That kind of method, you know, and people, like, exercise is a popular one. And I don't think people realize that that's why we love it.
Yeah.
Because we're in our body.
And that's what's actually really fascinating is I always looked at, I mean, I've been into competitive tennis and running and all of these things that are pretty active. And I always looked at yoga as like, oh, that is the most pointless type of exercise, so to speak. But the more and more I've learned about nervous system regulation and reducing our cortisol and all of that, I'm like, holy cow, yoga is a very powerful thing. And they talk a lot about breath in yoga, which you can, like, there are different renditions of yoga, but I started actually doing my own. I kind of paired yoga, Pilates, and then breath work together. And then every morning I'll listen to kind of like classical uplifting. I kind of switch it up, but I'll time my breath with the music.
Oh, I love it.
And it is the most powerful thing. And I've kind of coupled all these things together where I'm focusing, I'm fully like in my body, focused on my breath, really going to the music, and it changes everything. So wherever I'm at, if I'm on vacation or just sometimes I'll just hop into that, I'll put my headphones on and I'll really focus on my breath and it changes my mood like instantly.
I actually have a random question too, because I'm so fascinated with the way that you parent your children. Like, I want you to be Uncle Adam whenever I have children.
Done.
Because, so I met them at Lagoon actually, and one, like, they have their own energy and presence about them, even though they are so young. Like, you can tell that you've taught in your home the law of attraction and just optimism and the power of energy and all of these things. But it sounds like it's been a learning for you, but like for other parents out there, how do they incorporate that into their existing parenting? Is it a strategy?
Style.
Yeah.
I'm in work mode. Strategy.
Strategy is a good descriptive word for that, I think. My flow with that is, and I guess it reminded me of the second point that you were speaking, which is it sort of becomes a lifestyle. And I think we were talking about this before we started. It was like, well, where do you want to go with breathwork? And it's like, well, I love breathwork, but like my mission isn't necessarily like breathwork is the end. It's like breathwork is a good way for me to be able to open up myself vibrationally, energetically, physically, to be able to exist in the way that I want in this life. And so to answer the question, it's like being a parent, gosh, it's so hard. I learned from watching them do things that bother me that are exactly the things that I did, and they watched me and then did it.
Totally.
If that makes
Leading
sense.
by example.
So I have to be careful about what I do as well as what I say.
Yeah.
I think growing up in the culture that we grew up in, there was a lot of shame. There was a lot of pushing things to the side, not only in my home, but culturally. It's like there's a judgment factor and we're worried about who's going to know what, whatever. I think that's changing, but I think I didn't want to have to put that bullshit into their brain. And like that took me years to dismantle, even though I was never in. Like I didn't go on a mission or I wasn't fully in, but those things are in there deep.
Totally.
Religion or not, it just that had that type of culture. So I think for me that was really important to like be really open and be really like trusting and kind of allow what's coming through to be seen as equal as the values that were laid before us and kind of like find a balance there.
Well, I even just like felt like love from your family. Like I was like, they just exude love and positivity, and I like it could have just been the day they were at Lagoon.
You're giving me a lot of credit, I think.
But I think that's what's crazy is like I mean, if we go back to leading by example, there are parents that talk negatively about themselves or even about others, and people stay in that mindset, and then their kids learn from them, oh, you know, mom is talking bad about these people or whatever. And, you know, like, I think that is such a dangerous thing because it impacts their future. And if people don't have the resources to heal themselves and understand how to actually overcome some of those thoughts and their own emotions, then that's like what leads to all of this chaos truly like in the world.
Yeah. And I think like a good way to put it is to love yourself where you're at, but then also loving self-awareness that you want to improve yourself and progress, but it all comes back to that intention behind it, right?
Yes.
And so it seems like I'm sure your kids have a lot of self-love because you've injected that into them and helped them love themselves, but then also they're self-aware enough at like a young age to know like right from wrong and why they do things, like not just because someone tells them this, but because like they authentically believe that.
Right.
Yes, I think I agree with all of that. That's it, right? It's how do we help our children? We improve ourselves, and then they will naturally just find their highest version because they're living in an environment where that's allowed.
Oh, it's so powerful. Yeah.
But it's so tricky.
Yeah.
I want to judge everything and fix things, and so yeah, it's so interesting loop. But I think that's it, and you said it really well.
Yeah, and I think like a big thing, people grow up being afraid of failure.
Yes.
Because then a lot of times what I've seen, and I feel like I did this in my own life, of we create the story not of I did something bad or I failed, but you internalize that with shame. I know like Brene Brown has a book called Atlas of the Heart, and she talks about all the emotions. And she says, all of the emotions, there's no good or bad emotion. They all, are messengers to us, except for shame. Shame is the one that I would say it is a messenger, but it has no place in, like, you want to not have that in your life because that's a deep-rooted, guilt is I did something bad. Shame is I am bad. And you internalize that. And so I think a lot of, especially growing up in religion or, very strict homes, it does sometimes create shame. We create shame within ourselves. And so I would think that the way that you have raised your kids too, it gives them the authenticity and the
freedom
to make mistakes and be themselves, and they're not shamed for it and they don't shame themselves for it, but it's a growth mindset. So
yeah I respect that. I appreciate everything you just said. I'm agreeing with all that.
Yep.
Said it very well.
I think Adam needs his own podcast. So
I think
if you guys
so too.
agree, please leave a comment.
Okay, yeah, let's scoping out the place.
So
right now.
actually, I got lost in your words sometimes because I'm like, his voice is very podcasty. Like you have a very podcasty voice.
Thank you.
So that leads me to my next thing. Like you leading one of these breathwork classes. Are you, so like closing kind of things out. One, he brought some, what is it called? What did you bring?
your drum.
Your
A drum. It's a handpan drum.
So he brought a drum and we want to play it for you. But how do you want to do this, Adam?
Paige, are you going to play it too?
I do want to
I can show you how. It's
So yeah,
easy.
he calls it jamming, and I love that.
Jamming. I like
It's
it.
like anytime I talk to Adam, I'm like, oh, life actually isn't that crazy. Like everything is gonna be okay.
Yeah.
It just like leaves you feeling at peace.
Yeah. And I a big thing that I know you mentioned the word control, and I think that's like a lot of when there's fear, when we're in our fear mindset, a lot of us go into this control mode, right? And that's, I think, the beauty of breath work is it takes us out of our heads, out of that control space, and allows us to connect with ourselves. And so do you have anything else before we dive into that you feel like would be powerful or important for the audience to know about your journey, breathwork in general, how they can start?
Your last note,
Yes.
Adam.
There's going to be many, many notes after this. Let's
the last one here, I think if I could leave with something or to like tie it up in some way, I think it's about getting out of our own way and letting our true self come through. all of those guilt and shame and things and control and trying to worry about what it's going to be like or what time or that doesn't matter. Like my life is happening as I enjoy it, as I live it. That's how I heal. That's how I celebrate. That's how I grow. And if I can get out of my own damn way, then life can be pretty good and I can enjoy it. And I don't have to take things so serious. And maybe I understand the balance so that I can thrive in the situations instead of just try to survive in them.
Thrive, not survive.
Yeah, like
That's
that.
good.
And that's where the music comes in too, is like when you play music, like you said, like I want to play drums, like you can, and I can show you. And if you just allow yourself to try it fully, you'll do it.
Yeah.
Right? It's the same as the cold plunge. It's the same as the breath work. Like there's something on the other side there if you'll just allow yourself to remove the thoughts and the judgments, open your heart, try something different and see what happens.
I love it. That my word this year is fearless. Like live more fearlessly.
I love that.
Yeah.
I think mine's going to be thrive.
I like
Thrive,
both
not
of
survive.
those.
Yep.
Okay, guys, we're going to play a little bit to close this out. Adam, lead us through
Do you
this.
are you wanting to do like a just to me to play the drum? Do you want to do breath work? What do you guys how do you want to end this?
I think you should lead us through like a quick breath work exercise
Yeah.
and play this.
Okay.
And then the audience can kind of follow along. This is also really, I think it's going to be uncomfortable for me personally, but we're doing it.
Yeah, you have your glasses on so you can hide a little
Yeah,
bit.
I can hide, so I'm feeling really good.
Okay, before
I need glasses.
you can
I'm
turn.
fearless,
Do you
so
want
I
to
don't
turn
need
around?
glasses. No, I'm fearless, so I don't need glasses.
Fear. Just lean into your fear. It's okay. Like, how do you become fearless? You do it anyways.
It's true. Yeah.
Literally so many nuggets.
Yeah, it's true. That is a good point. Fear can still come up, but you push through.
It's
like
real.
Yeah, it's
So
true.
get through it. Or
is
turn
true.
fear into excitement.
Yeah.
We're excited to do this.
Okay, so I think what I will preface this with is we're just going to let's do 2 rounds of Wim Hof breath. And the reason why is because you got to get the first one through so you can be like, oh, okay, I know what I'm doing.
Okay.
And really dive in. And this is something that after I describe it and we do it together and I'll guide you. So if you're listening, pull over in your car. Don't do it while you're driving, whatever.
The Wim Hof breath is pretty advanced.
It's intense.
Have you ever done it?
We can. We're gonna.
Twice. But I didn't do it accurately.
I'm gonna show you, and why it's so important to do it is because it's super easy. Don't overcomplicate it. We're gonna breathe.
Okay.
You're doing it already, and we weren't thinking about it, so don't trip.
Totally.
We got this. Second, it's so easy. You can do it wherever, whenever. You can do it before the meeting. You can do it when you wake up. You can do it like when you need to clear your mind and you need to engage in something other than where everything else is at.
Yeah.
Easy.
Center.
Easy. Do you want me to talk about where and when we do this? You want to do that after?
Yeah. We'll do that. Do it
Do
now.
it after?
Do it now.
Do it now.
because
We'll
we're
close
gonna-
and end with the breath work.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
Go now.
Adam, tell everyone where they can find you, and 2, all of your upcoming classes that you have, and then of course, like send him DMs. He is the most thoughtful, kind human ever, and he'll respond to all of your DMs.
Thank you.
I just put you on.
I am really nice. Paige is sort of giving me a lot of credit, but I'll take it. Thank you. Okay, so right now I, along with my wife and another couple, my friend Mike and his wife Vadia, and some of our other music friends, we host a breathwork cold plunge community event. We do a sound bath. We serve hape.
Cool.
It's just a community gathering. We do it in Salt Lake. We do it every month. And we go through sort of like the same modalities, but it's different every time. It's just live in the moment. We play music. We drum during the breath work. For me, like you're saying, the music makes a huge difference in the whole experience. And I like to play music. So it's like if I can put my heart into the drum while somebody is putting their heart into their breath, then this cool co-creation happens. And it's sort of experiential. Like I just said it and you heard it and you're like, oh yeah. But like when you do it, different while it's drumming and your heart's pumping. I suggest trying it at some point, wherever, however. It does not have to be me. Do it. We do that every month. The next one is August 18th.
August 18th.
Mm-hmm.
September 9th. It's called the Energy Stack. There is an Instagram account you can follow.
Yes, we'll link it.
Mm-hmm.
We recently hosted a men's retreat, and we're forming this sort of men's circle there where we can get men together to do these types of activities, open them up, help them feel like there's a safe space and a resource to gather. We're definitely going to do another retreat there.
Super cool. Okay, when you have dates, let us know.
Yeah, follow the Energy Stack.
Okay,
and
Energy
then as
Stack.
far as like the other stuff, like I like playing music. We have a music circle we do every Tuesday. There's the Cold Plunge on Sunday mornings. I'm working on getting a platform put together to help teach this in a corporate setting or at a small business or with a team so that people can tap into their higher self, tap into the connection with the team and have a better, happier, smoother, more regulated team, right?
Mm-hmm.
It
That's
doesn't
gonna
even...
be so good.
Yeah. So that is coming. That's something that I've been in the process of launching right now, and I'm excited about that. So yeah, I think my Instagram's a good place to connect to. Probably.
That's perfect. Okay. Well, guys, you know where to find him, and in the show notes below too. All right, let's dive in. I'm kind of nervous. I really think everyone, don't stop listening to this. You should pull over, like Adam said. This is good for all of us.
Yeah, if
viewers in the world.
If you've done Wim Hof breathwork before and you know what it is, then you're probably excited. And if you haven't, then cool, you get to try something new.
Mm-hmm.
I'm ready.
Okay.
My eyes are closed.
Yeah, I would say I always like to start wherever, whenever it is, and I think closing our eyes is a good way to go. And then I can
Do
really...
you typically lay down too when you're like at your house?
Yeah, so I've done both sitting up and laying down. I kind of like to, ginger ale. I like to sit up and be sort of like aware of myself.
Mm-hmm.
But I found that I can go deeper and like, this is killing me. And be farther in the breath work if I lay down. I can hold longer and kind of like settle in differently. So whatever feels good to you, I would say. And since we're sitting here.
Yeah, we'll sit.
Yeah, we're not going to lay down.
Close your eyes.
But next time.
Close them. And I don't know how this is going to go. Let me get my... So I would say take a second and just find your natural breath. And allow yourself to tap into that part of yourself that was existing before when we were talking automatically. Just connect into it, into your body. And feel your feet on the floor. Feel yourself sitting in your chair. Feel your back against the chair. Maybe you feel the energy in your hands. Just really tap into your body for a second. Conscious connection is the point of the breath work, so that's why we start there. I want you to take a breath right now, close your mouth, and start to bring it in nice and slow through your nose. Let's just take a big, long inhale together. And fill all the way up and hold it at the top. Stretch out. And you can even sip a little more, like fill all the way up. And then let it out. Then close your mouth. Sip it in through your nose again. Really get connected. Really fill up and hold it. I want you to hold it and be full. Because when we take a breath, we're going to breathe in big. So let it go. And the breath pattern we're going to do is just like that. Big, fully in. You don't have to hold it at the top. Just bring it in. Good. Keep going. And as you do that, you're going to feel a little tingly. Your body temperature might change. That's okay. Just stay with it. Good. Keep going. And we're just going to keep going in a big circle. And we're filling up our body with oxygen right now. Typically when we breathe, we're taking shallow breaths, so we're not getting the oxygen down to all the deep reaches of our vascular system. So that's what we're doing. Cleansing and activating. Good. Keep going. As we breathe, we're charging up. We're going to keep going. We're going to do 10 or 12 more. You do about 30 of them, and we're going to release and hold in a minute. Right now, I just want you to stay engaged on your breath. Good. Just find your center. Stay engaged. Okay, 5 more, and we're going to let go, and we're going to hold. So you're going to release and hold. Keep going. 3 more. Ready? In, out, in. Okay, last one in, and then release and hold. We're just going to sit for a second. Feel how still we can get. Maybe even hear the birds outside. Slow your heartbeat down. Just be here, right here. Stay with it a little bit longer. You guys are awesome. Okay. We're going to bring a big breath in. Ready? Go. Fill it up and hold it like we did at first. Hold it. Sip it at the top. You can feel the energy move from the bottom of your spine all the way up. Just hold it. Sending fresh oxygen, flushing it through your body, getting new blood through your heart, into your brain, through your nervous system. Good. So yeah, hold that in just a little bit longer. Good. Okay, let it out. Big let it out. Okay, we're going to go again. There's a second round, just like before. Big in and big out. Ready? Good. Stay with it. Just letting go of the thoughts, just staying in the body and breathing. Good. Just finding your own rhythm and those big breaths. Good. Nice and circular. You can focus on what you're bringing in. Peace, fearlessness, love, right? Bring it in. Let go of what you don't need. Doubt, fear, anger, shame. Breathe it out. Good, stay with it. A few more breaths. Good. Good, a few more. Stay in it. It's breath work. Didn't know you were going to work today, but I'm going to make you. A few more. Good. Stay in it. Okay, 5 more and we're going to release and hold. Good. Dig in. Good. Good. Ready? In. Let it out. Last one, big in. And then release. And sit. Slow your heartbeat down and just be here. Remember how powerful you are. That your body's strong enough to do anything that you need in this life. With the right intention and focus and discipline, we can do anything. Hold it as long as you can, and then when you're ready, bring in that big breath. Only when you're ready. Stretch it out. As you bring it in, pull the energy up your spine, push it up to your crown, into your brain, pushing the fresh oxygen through your body. Let it out and find your natural breathing rhythm for a moment. Just get back into your body, nice and easy. Back into your normal breath. Are you still here? There you go. There you go. As you finish up, just find that breath back into your normal rhythm. Come out of it. Wiggle your toes, wiggle your fingers, and come back nice and easy. You want to give yourself a second to kind of come back in and just decalcified your pineal gland. You just reset your nervous system. You just flushed your heart with fresh blood. When you're ready, open your eyes. Come back.
You feel like a mix of rejuvenation mixed with calm.
But
Yeah.
like also energy.
Mhm.
Like I'm feeling so re-energized.
Yeah, like fresh energy in a good way that's not
Yeah.
like psycho coffee energy, but like
Yeah.
calm, powerful.
Yeah. Like I
Yeah.
can do anything. Watch out, everybody.
Here
You
she
are.
comes.
Yep.
Here she comes.
Here
Well,
you
guys,
go.
Here we come.
thank you so
Yeah.
much, Adam. That was absolutely incredible. August 18th, September 9th. I know we will be there.
Yeah, for sure.
So-
Yeah, I'm excited.
Thank you
All
so
right.
much. All right, guys. I am so excited to close this out. Nikki, any last words?
Adam, you said everything just perfectly. So thank you.
Thanks. Thank you for having me. Really grateful. Thank you.
Okay, I do want to just remind breathwork is for everyone. Everyone can get a sense of healing from it. And so if you haven't looked into it, hopefully that's enough of a little segue into boosting you to kind of at least know what resources are out there.
And then, like, definitely go to your office buildings and pitch this idea, and you know where to find Adam. All right. Thanks,
Love it.
everybody.
Thanks, Adam.
Hey, see you. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Building with Vitality.
Be sure to like, share, and subscribe for more.
Love you guys.